All right, thank you. This is just a little bit extra to follow on from the masterclass, looking at biotechnology, accelerators and incubators, which I mentioned during the scenarios, and now just going to give you a little bit more information. So accelerators and incubators are organisations that are set up, they were initiated in the US, mostly through Silicon Valley, and they're organisations that provide not only funding but also mentoring, and they often come with like a co-working space. So it's very much like getting people together, I suppose, in terms of an incubator setting, to give them support in terms of not only financial support, but also networking and mentoring support. And as I mentioned, very popular in digital technology. Often even in Australia, having a digital technology incubator program might go for 6 months, and it actually culminates in going to the US for pitching meetings within Silicon Valley. Biotechnology, a little bit different. The programs do often consist of financial investment. It's often in return for equity, but not always. Can depend on how structured and involved the incubator and accelerator program is. And they give support along with finance in terms of business know-how, specialist resources, and also mentoring from industry experts. Most incubators and accelerators will have a whole panel of mentors that they kind of retain to provide expertise and to take the companies that they choose to accept into their incubator really through to something that can go on to that next stage of commercialization. So there's a little bit of definition between what's an accelerator and what's an incubator. And they often are in terms of what stage the company's at. So an accelerator provides a small amount of seed capital, and it's normally quite a short-term sort of mentorship program, normally from about 3 to 6 months. It'll give you exposure to industry, sometimes mentors to give you know-how in terms of your actual technology to take it through, but they also give you access to other investors. So as part of this accelerator program, they may have sort of pitching nights where they gather a group of investors together, and you'll be able to take your idea and take that expertise that you've got from the mentors to actually be able to pitch for your next round of funding. So as Andrew said, you never stop fundraising. So even though you're in an accelerator program, you'll be then looking for your next part of your next sort of raising of capital. The companies that will be in the accelerator program are really quite early stage development. They're startups that are looking to develop prototype. They may well be looking to clarify what their market is, who their competitors are, and they're still in that sort of identifying their end user or their customer profile, like who is their product for. However, with the incubators, this is a more long-term prospect. So they provide mentorship throughout the company's lifestyle. So it's often not just a 3 to 6 month commitment, it's a longer term commitment. However, that therefore means that these companies are more specific in what they're looking for. So they're looking for companies that are past early stage concept development. So these are companies that understand, this is my product and this is the problem that it solves, this is the end user, this is the market, this is the competitors. You need to be really quite clear in what your product is going to solve if you want to go into an incubator. However, within the incubator, they then provide long-term business support. There's often some addition of funding, but they then provide a lot of mentoring, and they can actually help to carry the business through the commercialization process. And we're going to look at examples of both accelerators and incubators, which will clarify the difference that I've mentioned here. So the first one is the Melbourne Uni Accelerator Program, or Melbourne Accelerator Program. They fund up to 10 startups per year. The startups are given $20,000. The Melbourne Accelerator Program does not take any equity of the company, and it's a 5-month program. So as part of the Melbourne Accelerator Program, the businesses gain access to office space, structured mentoring, as well as networking and pitching opportunities, both in Australia and overseas. And these network and pitching opportunities are dependent on the area in which the startup operates. So we're looking for appropriate and relevant pitching opportunities. Some of these may be in Australia, some of them may be overseas. The Melbourne Accelerator program looks at all types of companies, including digital technology, life sciences, med tech, and at least one founder must be University of Melbourne staff, student or alumni. So it is restricted to Melbourne Uni, but it is sort of fairly broad in only having one founder. So this is a program that's been shown to result in a lot of partnerships. Licenses, partnerships, even though it is a short 5-month program, it really gives a lot of startups though their legs to be able to then go out and find other investors to either develop it themselves or to develop it to a point where they're able to either sell their company, partner or license. Second one of the accelerating programs is run by CSIRO. It's sort of the on accelerating innovation program. It's a national innovation accelerator. It actually has hubs in each capital city of Australia. So when you get if you get into the program, you're then allocated to the kickoff event and then the mentoring sessions within a specific hub. It's open to employees of Australia's publicly funded research agencies, which are the majority of Australia's research institutes and universities. They have 2 programs, On Prime and On Accelerate. On Prime is your real initial first stages. It's only a part-time pre-accelerator program. And what it does is it covers areas such as market validation and competitors. So it'd be really appropriate if you had an idea, you may well have done proof of concept, but you're not quite sure what your market is. So you're just at that first commercialization stage and you're like, you think you've got an idea, but you're not quite sure where to take it. The companies retain all their IP and equity, and the financial input is tied to performances potentially or to reaching sort of milestones, and companies can earn up to $5,000. However, with the On Accelerate, it's a full-time accelerator program, runs for 12 weeks. The companies get a $15,000 budget, which is for operating costs, and then can earn up to $10,000 in performance bonuses. So through the On Accelerate program, they get access to a lot of mentors and structured frameworks to help accelerate and to define what the company, the commercialization and the risk and sort of the risk and I guess the potential of the idea in a structured way. So you'll be able to come out at the end of the On Accelerate program having looked at validating your product and your market, and to come with a clear idea of how viable and also how valuable your commercial opportunity is at the end of this program. So they were 2 accelerator programs, and this is probably one of the most established incubator programs within Australia. It aims to bring long-term business support to advanced technology entrepreneurs. So it partners with technical founders to give them the best chances of commercial success. And I guess this is probably an extrapolated version of the temperature and neutrophil sensing device that we saw. These were engineers that had a specific technology. So I guess probably goes down to what we see at the bottom. What do they look for? So they want a product that has a sustainable competitive advantage through products and services that are hard to replicate. So this is very much like the scenario that we saw. These engineers had a product that could measure temperature and neutrophil levels outside of the home, a remote product, which is very hard to design. And the engineers had the know-how to be able to create this novel and highly relevant product. However, they didn't have any understanding of the commercial or the business side of their opportunity. So this is where Cicada Innovations, this incubator, could be really useful. So it was founded by 4 New South Wales University. It's a Sydney-based incubator, focuses on life sciences, engineering and data science. So the main thing is the inventors have know-how that's hard to replicate. So they have a panel of 50 full-time mentors that all of these companies that are within the incubator have access to. They have facilities such as office, lab, event space, and they take up to 5% equity in the business. So becoming part of the Cicada incubator means that you've got a really high level of support and people that are really wanting to take your business and provide that commercial knowledge. So an example of some of the life sciences companies that Cicada has partnered with include Clarity Pharmaceuticals, which produced a novel radiopharmaceutical and companion diagnostics for oncology applications. NanoX, which has developed a smarter and smaller cancer radiotherapy machine ideal for rural areas and developing regions. And this one was really interesting in that they had the technology to be able to actually develop a smaller radiotherapy machine. And their market was obviously quite spread in terms of rural areas, but it wasn't overly potentially high value. But by being part of the Cicada incubator, they were able to really harness what the value in their project or in their program to actually be able to implement it within the rural areas. And lastly, Nuclone, which is a biotechnology company developing and commercializing high quality biosimilars. And potentially the value of Cicada will be really high within this company because of how much the biosimilars area is expanding within Australia. I think it's developing biosimilars and having a way to do that is definitely very valuable, but having the know-how of Cicada to be able to take it out into the market would be, really beneficial for a company such as Nuclone. So the last thing I'm going to mention is looking at potentially sort of a crowdsourcing competitor, like competition hub, which I've cut off there, called Thinkable. So some of you may have come across it potentially through MedTech's Got Talent, but it's a site where universities and potentially even, I'm not sure if it's companies or not, they can host competitions to source and fund breakthrough ideas in any field. And normally they're motivated by a specific area or a strategic priority. So they had, you can host a competition for unmet medical need. They actually hosted competitions to develop new leads or ideas for tackling the Zika virus called Zika Hack, which is obviously highly relevant. And then it can also, depending on universities, if they want to gain more ideas in line with their strategic priorities, they could always fund a competition through there. And they also have pitching competitions as well. So it's something, if you're very, very, very early stage, just to keep an eye on a website like that. And through Thinkable, they also promoted MedTech's Got Talent, which is it's become quite popular within Australia. And it supports emerging entrepreneurs to develop skills in pitching, business concept, developing the technology roadmap, and launching commercialization activities. So the company needs to have done those initial activities. It is focused on med technology innovations, and it actually provides the entrance with money, expertise, and networking opportunities. So anyone can enter. They actually narrow it down to sort of a series of finalists, and they actually receive mentoring, and they receive some prize money, but they receive a whole series of mentoring and networking before the final winner is announced. So it's not only one winner that gains the expertise and opportunities from this program, but a whole range of finalists. So potentially even an opportunity like MedTech's Got Talent may well be expanding more so into life sciences, worth keeping an eye on. But I hope that that's just given you a little bit of an insight into incubators and accelerators, which are another really good avenue of funding for early stage biotechnology and med technology ventures. Thank you very much.